this tutorial I've prepared 4 small but very effective techniques for you. Let's start with this 360. This technique is useful for all modes. In either mode, for example, you can hold back opponents and fire rockets backward. In speed mode, a 360 can save you from tricky situations or, as in the following example, give you simple advantage. To practice the 360 for this part, you can use the checkpoint function. Set the starting checkpoint and drive to the point where the part you want to practice ends. Here you can set the end checkpoint. From then on, the area between the checkpoints will repeat continuously, and you can practice it at the spot as shown in the video. How does it actually work? The beginning is similar to the double drift, except that after pressing the drift button a second time, you release it and press the opposite direction keys. Okay, step by step. Start by making a 180 turn. Drift, drift, release everything. When the 180 turn is complete, you can press the opposite direction keys. Let's try it again. Drift, drift, release, and opposite directions. Once you can perform the individual steps, try to execute the sequence faster. For a 180 you release all buttons. For a 360, keep the drift button pressed the second time you press it. That's it. The next technique I call the preparation cut, but there's no name for this technique yet, let alone tutorials. Basically this technique works like the cut charge, except that you cut in the opposite direction. You start a drift, counter steer, and as soon as the drift ends, you drift briefly in the opposite direction. This allows you to generate some nitro after the cut, which benefits the following drift. Here's an example on basic bridge. Start the drift, preparation cut. Now you have already prepared for the upcoming drift and your boost gauge charges faster, allowing you to transition into the cut charge more quickly. In other situations like this, a normal drift might not fully charge, and there's no time or space for a short full. The preparation cut helps you fully charge in such difficult spots. Here's another example on the same track when the technique is not used. The drift takes considerably longer to fully charge, thus delaying the cut charge. And in this curve the boost gauge doesn't fill up, resulting in arriving at the spot with one less nitro. Yes, it works without it, but it's more difficult, inconvenient and time consuming. This technique has another advantage. Sometimes in the last curve of a track, your nitro time might not be enough to complete the drift. Instead of letting the drift run out, you can use the preparation cut to immediately use the nitro during the cut. You could also perform a cut charge at this point. However, it's slower, and we don't need another nitro for this case. Let's move on to the next technique, the extending drift. The top speed for this kart with this tuning is 192 km per hour. With the extending drift, we are only slightly slower, but it offers advantages in the end because With this technique, you won't lose your nitro if you already have 2 nitros but your boost gauge is full already, and the drift is practically over. To maintain the drift, you must keep the drift button pressed continuously and keep your kart moving. If you don't keep your kart in motion, the drift will stop on its own, and the nitro might be wasted if another nitro is still active. Therefore, try to keep the kart moving, but as straight as possible to avoid losing speed. When the active nitro finishes and you ignite the next one, you can stop the extending drift and continue driving normally. This technique is really just to save a nitro, otherwise you waste it. I have prepared 2 more examples to illustrate the advantage. The last technique is very simple and quick to implement. We see the top speed of 192 km/h again. By making such snake movements, the top speed can increase by 2 km/h. Make sure not to make the curves too wide, as that would reduce the speed. Try out these 4 techniques and feel free to share your success with me via comments on YouTube or on my Discord channel. The link is in the video description. See ya!